Hello and welcome to the Leicester reaction of Talk a Good Game, where I'm joined by someone who's been a regular the last few weeks, Scott. Scott, thank you very much for giving up your evening tonight.
Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me back again.
No problem. And someone who's got the giggles for some reason, but he's back from his holiday and he's got a goatee like Matthew Etherington. Hello, Gonzo.
Hello, it's not a goatee. I was just waiting for you to say the bit where you say, you know, we talk a good game, I talk a good game, you talk a good game, everybody talks a good game, and most importantly, tweet in with your stuff and everyone talks a good game. I was waiting for that and I laughed. Did you miss it?
No, it's because, well, me and Scott predicted 3-0 wins for Leicester, so we obviously don't talk a good game, do we? Anyway, team news came out. There was one change which everyone kind of expected. We've got Scott's mind review on it midweek about whether Jenkinson or Tompkins should play. Gonzo, did you think that was the right change to do?
I thought it was harsh to change a winning team, but at the time, I totally understood it. In hindsight, he wasn't fit, was he? Just not fit and ready for the season. Should have really gone with Tompkins. I thought he had an absolute mare. He needs a few games in reserve to get up to match speed, I think.
Yeah, people maybe expected Oxford to be dropped because Bilic has obviously spoke about protecting him, and we thought maybe he'd been dropped. We'll speak about him a bit later on, but Scott, do you think it was the right thing to do to keep him in the starting 11?
Yeah, I thought I wanted him to start. I didn't want him to play a full game.
Yeah, and Gonzo, were you the same, or do you think he should have been rotated? And before you say he had a poor game, we'll come on to that, but before the game, were you hoping he was starting?
It's the same again. I don't think anyone deserved to be dropped after that. I think the thing with Oxford is he is 16, so he will have to be rotated. He will have to be protected. And I didn't know beforehand that Obiang might be fit. Never seen Obiang play, and if it was a choice between Oxford and Nolan, then keep Oxford in. He deserved his chance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously the first 10-15 minutes I for one was quite impressed. I thought we were keeping the ball very well, moving about quite competently. Scott, were you happy with the opening 15 minutes of the game or so?
I think we set off okay, but I think after 10-15 minutes, I think they got the better of us.
Yeah, after the Europa League game, Gonzo, we spoke about how Bilic was going to use his fullbacks. Do you think it was evident in the first 15 minutes though that Jenkinson and Creswell were maybe a bit too high up the park? Because often they were almost in the opposition's third, and Noble was dropping back to kind of make almost like a defensive three.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you said it yourself, haven't you? Really, I think he was probably surprised at how well Leicester attacked. I think everybody was probably surprised at how well Leicester attacked. Really, yeah, they probably were in advance. But do you know what? That's refreshing. How many times last season we were saying we sit back too much at home? So he's got to be allowed that time to tinker and find the right balance, really.
Yeah, Gonzo. After the 15 minutes or so, Leicester started to get a bit of the grip of the game, if you like, to start coming at us. The first goal was quite a good one by Leicester, wasn't it? Vardy obviously had a cross not long before and threw it across the face of the goal when there was no one in the box, and the second one he kind of got spot on. Any thoughts on the first goal?
Just thought he just running amok down the left-hand side. As I say, I think a lot of it, not the overall team performance. I thought we were. It was quite funny because against the Arsenal, it was very much said that because of our Europa campaign, we were a lot fitter than Arsenal. It was quite evident that Leicester were actually fitter than us, so I was quite surprised. So overall, I thought we lacked a bit of energy and intensity, but particularly down Jenkinson's side. Vardy was running amok down there, and he was puffing his cheeks. He was blowing after 5 minutes, Jenkinson. So yeah, obviously came from that area, didn't it?
Yeah. In the preview show, Scott, you spoke about it was very important that we got off to a really quick start because you were worried that we would start quite slow and get hit. And I think you were quite right, actually. I think we maybe did take it too easy. Apart from when we hit the bar within the first 90 seconds or so, we didn't really threaten the Leicester goal much until they scored. Were you starting to worry about when Leicester were coming into it, Scott, considering what you thought before the game was going to happen?
Yeah, definitely. They're really impressed with them. Really impressed with the speed that they attack in, and the way that they put balls together. It's very entertaining to watch. So when they started linking them little passes together and they started going down the wings, yeah, it's worrying because we're not the fastest team in the world.
Yeah, we had a Leicester fan on the preview show, and he did tell us that he picked out 3 players for us to watch out for, and that was Schlott, Albright, and Mahrez. Well, he was bang on, really, wasn't he? Schlott was a constant thorn in the thread down their left or right, and then obviously the second goal came from Albrighton. A little bit of movement down their left-hand side, cut it back to Mahrez. Do you think the defence was a bit asleep for that though, Gonzo? Mahrez was standing still for about what seemed like forever without anyone really going to make sure the pass wasn't an option. Were you disappointed? Is that a warning sign?
I think, as you said, we had one attack at the start. I think after that was all a warning sign. Really, they were the better team. I thought Mahrez was very good, really sort of tricky little player, wasn't he? I think when the pullback was made for the goal, yeah, you would want someone to be tighter and making a challenge there. I just think he's going to learn a lot from today, and it's just typical West Ham. You know, we beat a big club and then lose to Leicester, but. Do you know what? We were pretty pants against some lesser teams in the running last season, but we had to go. I think it comes down to intensity again. I don't think we were as lively as we should. It was almost as if the Europa League didn't happen, and we didn't feel any benefit. We weren't up to match sharpness, which was strange.
Yeah, I thought we were lacking a bit of organisation towards the end of the first half when they struck with the 2 goals. I thought the midfield was a bit all over the shop, and I think defence was getting pulled out of positions way too easy. Vardy was running about, and I don't think they knew how to cope with him. Funny enough, we spoke off air before the Leicester preview, and Scott went to mention the Japanese striker. I've already forgot his name. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Ogbonna really struggled with him. It was just his movement. But anyway, we'll talk about the penalty shout now, Scott. There's been obviously just on the cusp of half time, so everybody was still fuming at half time. They had 15 minutes of just anger boiling up because they had nothing to concentrate on. What's your views on that? Red card, or penalty, or both, or neither?
Neither. It wasn't a penalty.
Oh, Gonzo, do you agree with Scott?
I'm just thinking about it from my point of view. If I was reffing that, and I'm going to say it with my heart.
So why? Can I ask why is that not a penalty though?
I didn't think there was much contact.
But he almost clotheslined him. Gonzo, what's your view on that?
You're not going to start going about The Rock and The Undertaker and all that again, are you? You say it close. So they did a Samoan drop on him, didn't he? Then, men in jumpers for goalposts, men in leotards. It was a penalty. I mean, the rules are quite clear. Sacco nudged the ball past him, and then he did his clothesline thing. Did the keeper get any of the ball? No, he made contact with the man by the rules of the game. It's a penalty.
Is that a red card for you, or would that have been too harsh, do you think?
I couldn't say with any honesty. Again, you have to look at the rules. Was there a covering defender there? And did he deny him an outright goal scoring opportunity, which I think is the rule, or was the defender? Was it Huth? Who's the defender?
Huth, yeah, Robert Huth. Yeah.
Was he going to come along and been able to get a block in? So I think that's shady. But did Schmeichel challenge Sacco? Yes. Did he get the ball? No. Was Sacco in the process of nudging the ball past him? Yes. So that's a penalty by the rule book.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Gonzo. I don't think it was a red card myself. Plenty of West Ham fans do, but I think Huth was more than covering. I'm still not convinced Sacco would have got to the ball even if Schmeichel just moved out of the way. I think he maybe overhit it. I think he was maybe looking for the pen, if anything.
I think that's what did it.
Schmeichel put himself in that position that he was there. But after Sacco nudged it, he did make that move with his arm to make sure Sacco wasn't getting by him. Because I don't know, I think it was a nailed-on pen from my point of view. Come on then, Scott, what do you want to say? You're always happy with me, Gonzo.
I just think the way, I love the guy, Sacco, but I just think he made too much of it. Made way too much of it.
The frogs are going mental in that tank.
Even the frogs disagree with me.
Everyone now is rewinding this video on YouTube to check out the frog action in case they missed it.
Well, I wasn't listening to what Scott was saying. I was seeing the frogs doing that in the background.
That's okay. He was just slagging you off, basically, so it's fine. But Anyway, if you think it was a penalty or a red card or neither, then let us know on the forum or on Twitter. Plenty of you already told us on Twitter, so appreciate that. But keep your views coming. Obviously, moving on to the second half, we saw Oxford was booked at half time, so we're going to come back to him again, but not for the last time. Gonzo, was that the right decision?
Yes, I don't know. He had to do something, though. Certainly, something was needed. I thought he should probably change formation and switch a couple of things around, possibly make a, I thought possibly Lanzini, which he brought on later. He decided to hook Oxford off. I think as long as he can manage him and it doesn't dent his confidence, he can put an arm around him and say, look, I had to do that, son, and blah 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 blah. Why not? He had to do something.
Right, then Scott, second half. From my point of view, Leicester got their tactics bang on in the second half. They just retreated and they started time wasting. From as soon as the second half kicked off, they were taking ages over throw-ins, goal kicks, corners, everything. They were taking ages. I think Ranieri timed his subs really well. When it looked like we were getting dangerous, he made a sub, and the subs took ages to get off. He just slowed the game down. I was really impressed with him. Scott, were you impressed with us in the second half?
I was. The only thing I'm not impressed with, if I was going to critique it a little bit, is I knew that we changed things, and I know that we've got the tactics to be able to change things now. So much last year, we just carried on doing the same things throughout the game. I knew that we'd do something different at half time. I would have liked us to have done something different before half time, because I think that he is the kind of coach that can do that and communicate to his players and change things while they're still on the pitch. But having said that, we needed to do something in the middle of the park, because that's where we were losing it, in the middle of the park. And he did something. And there was a more intensity about the game. There was more of an urgency, more aggression from us, which we had in the Arsenal game. And I like to see that. I didn't know where it was in the first half, but it certainly came out more in the second half.
Yeah, Gonzo, do you share that view? Were you happy with what you've seen in the second half?
Yeah, well, yeah, but there was more to us. What I would say, and what I was thinking when I was watching it, is I rate Sacco. I think he's by far and away the best forward at the club. I think he's an outright finisher. But the tactics we seem to be playing saw him drifting wide quite a lot. Not in the same way that Sam would play him wide and make him stick there or make Valencia stick to the left, but just generally as the flow of the game was going, he would almost go wide. And I just think if you're going to do that, you're going to play those tactics, actually you probably need a striker who's a little bit better on the ball. I don't think there was a lot of service coming into the box. I was reading on the forum somebody was saying, we need to get Austin in, we need to get Hernandez in, and both of those will be fine players. But they are both really poachers. No one's dribbling past 3 or 4 players and scoring a wonder goal. They're foxes in the boxes or whatever you want to call them, And I just would like to see Sacco more central so as he can sniff out a chance, which he did obviously get the one which he shot directly at Schmeichel. But I just thought he was going a little bit. I liked our endeavour, but I just thought the tactics were slightly off.
Yeah, while we improved after half time, I was a bit frustrated. I didn't sense an urgency to try and get that. Well, we eventually got the goal, but I didn't sense an urgency. I'm not saying I wanted to see Sam Allardyce football. Let's launch it in the box and hope someone gets something on it. But like yourself, I would have liked to have seen Jenkinson and Creswell further forward, getting the ball wide and stretching Leicester. Right, for the red cards, we're going to talk about the red card now. Scott, was that a red card in your view?
If that had been a Leicester player that did that, I'd have been shouting for him to go off. I take it he didn't see the player. But once you get your foot that high and you're showing your studs, you've got to go. At that point, I just felt sick. And maybe I don't know if you're going on to that later on, but I just felt sick because I knew that he was going, and I knew that we were going to be without him.
Expand on that. What made you feel sick?
The cover that we've got, or the lack of cover, namely Rudolph and his flapping hands.
Yeah, well, I'll touch on that in a second. I've got it written down. I wasn't sure it was making you feel sick. Gonzo, what's your view on that? Do you think it was a red card, or?
You don't have to think it. We're not referees. We don't have to see it once. We've got the luxury of the replays. And again, the same with the Sacco penalty. The rules are clear. You don't judge him. You can't judge him and say, oh well, you know what? He was a goalkeeper. He was up there a bit clumsy. He didn't get the ball, and he stuck his studs into the fella's gut. it's a clear red card. I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. I think the referee was awful, all game, but that one he got right, and it's very, very easy to use these things as excuses to say we didn't win, in the same way that against Astra we were 2-0 up and James Collins got sent off, and that's the reason. Actually, you know what, we really should have done better, and it's the same in this instance. It's no good saying, oh, the referee was rubbish and that's why we lost. We didn't. We lost because Leicester were better than us.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I actually thought one of us was maybe going to have a different opinion on that, so that's kind of boring. I too, when I first seen it, I thought, how is that a red? I thought Adrian kind of won the ball and Vardy ran into Adrian's foot more than anything, but like I said, in hindsight we've got the replays, and now I've seen the replays, and I think it was the right call. As you said, his studs almost go through him, and the referee's 3 yards away looking directly at it. There's no intent in it, obviously, but I have to admit, though, I was panicking when he was calling Adrian over, because I thought he was going to book him. And I was thinking, ref, what are you doing? Adrian needs to get back in his goal. What are you doing taking him over when Leicester's away to take a free kick? Why are you taking him all the way back to the 18-yarder? So I did worry that there was a red coming, but a wee bit of a shot. Gonzo, me and Scott touched on this the last show. We're not the biggest fan of Rudolph, as we've called him. There were rumours of Rob Green. There's more rumours coming out that Rob Green's told his close friends, if you like, that he's going to be coming to West Ham. Do you think that's the right move, and do you think this red card might speed that transfer up?
Yes, and yes. Sorry, how many questions did you ask? 2, 3? Yes to all of them. I love Adrian. I think he's really good. He's a character. He's a good goalkeeper, great shot stopper. He started coming out for crosses more, and I think now we have Chris Woods as coach. That's really going to help him, but he is going to be susceptible to these sort of things, because you've seen him, he rushes out, sometimes he tries to dribble round the player, and I think with that in mind, a good number 2 is essential. And again, it might be boring, I'm not going to disagree with you, that Rudolph does look a bit flappy and a little bit dodgy, and I think just because he's got the same beard as the Everton goalkeeper doesn't mean he's as good as the Everton goalkeeper,
Yeah, there is that. Coming to the end of the show now, but Gonzo, would you start with Oxford against Bournemouth? Obviously we'll have the Bournemouth preview show midweek, but just as a reflection, if you like, would you start him, or do you think maybe that his confidence is maybe taking a dent today?
I don't know, I'm sorry, again, that's the master manager's decision. I wouldn't be bothered if they did start him. I thought Obiang looked okay when he came on, but from what I saw, he wasn't particularly a defensive player. He looked. I'm sorry. I'm going to change your question slightly. I'm not answer it directly, because the one thing I do think we need to address was the way the midfield failed to cope today, and you always need a blend of player. So whilst, as I always say, I like number 10s and tricky players, I'm not so stupid as to think actually we don't need other players in the team. And the blend of the midfield, so if you consider that midfield 3 of Oxford, Coyote and Noble, I think there's 3 positions you're going to need a blend. So you're going to need a tackler in there. I think you're going to need an athlete, which I think Coyote is. He really is going to run all day, and I think he's absolutely brilliant on that. But the last person's going to need some guile. He's going to really need to be able to pass well, and I think we're waiting for Payet, who scored a lovely goal, we haven't discussed that, to open doors, but somebody needs to get the ball to him in those positions. Someone needs to see his runs. Someone needs to see Zarati's runs, or Lanzini, whoever plays. Someone's going to need to play these guys in, and it was actually that quality of ball coming from central midfield that's probably more important that they address that issue than whether Oxford plays it or whoever else.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, tough question for you both now, just while we wrap it up. Scott, who was your 2 players that impressed you the most from West Ham?
It's a difficult one, because I don't think anybody really stood out. Because of his goal. It was the first goal that we'd had on target. So there you go. And Zarate, I was on Twitter while it was going on. He was getting so much stick. Fair enough. He he did try to take everybody on, and it's something that we've got to have someone's got to have a word with. But his heart's in the right place, and he just kept running. And I'll stick by him. I think given the right players around him, I think that lad can play, and I think that'll come out throughout the season.
Gonzo, I'm going to switch the question slightly for you. Name 2 West Ham players that maybe concerned you the most today.
Oh, I wanted to answer Scott's question.
Well, you're getting out in a second. I'm switching them round.
Well, Jenkinson, but hopefully it's just fitness. Reed, there was a point, he was brilliant against Arsenal. He was really heavily left-footed. There was a point, a couple of times when someone was coming. He's a left-sided centre-back, but Ogbonna seems to be playing left-sided centre-back. And there was a couple of times, not even just passing with his right foot, when he had to clear with his right foot. And it's a bit of a swinger for him. He just couldn't generate the power to clear his right foot, and he was forced to make the tackle with the right foot just because that's naturally the way the game flows in there. That concerned me, not Reed as a player, but having 2 left-sided centre-backs playing that way.
Yeah, well, might see Tompkins back against Bournemouth, you never know. Scott, time for you to put you on the spot then. Name your 2 that maybe concerned you. If you were Bilic and you were thinking, how would I change this next week? What 2 players are you thinking you weren't on form against Leicester?
Well, I'll leave the obvious one for me in the middle for second. But Sacco had a great season last year, and he did play okay, but my missus could have put that one away where he hits Michael on the chest. I'm convinced if he were stuck her in the box, he'd have shoved that away, no problems. I just want him to get a bit sharper, and that should have been a goal. So you can't take your touches in this game, you've got to bang them away. And in the middle, that's where we lost it. I agree with Gonzo. I'd like somebody a bit stronger in the middle. And again, I'm not doing it for trying to be controversial or anything, but Noble, put him on the bench and bring him on from time to time. We need somebody in the middle. I've said it on Twitter also. I like a 4 or 5-1. I like a good, strong midfield. I think teams who play intricate football, and they did today. Their final balls, their assists were fantastic, and they just opened us up. We haven't got that in the middle, and I don't think. Again, I don't think. I said it last week. You put me on the spot, and I said let's see what his next game's like. I don't think he did brilliant today.
Yeah, one player that concerned me. Well, not concerned, but just really off today was Creswell. I think defensively he got sold a couple of times, so easily by Mahrez. He just gave up some of the times Mahrez went by him. He just left him. Also going forward, there's a couple of times in the first half the cross was there for him to take, and he didn't nail it, and it was disappointing because there was that other time he skinned the right back, Delat, however you say his name, the guy with the funny star on his arm and a stupid tattoo. But he skinned him, but he just didn't stick the ball in the box at all, and it was really frustrating to watch. And I think it's maybe just because I got really high expectations of him, but I wasn't overly impressed with him today. One player, I thought Noble played okay today actually, stringing the passes together. I think he's going to come good, Scott. I mean, you're going to disagree with this quite often through the season, but we'll see. Gonzo just sits on the bench for Mark Noble anyway. But Gonzo, you've got the easy question now. What 2 players did you think had a good game today for us?
Well, Payet, who's just going to be a superstar for us. I can't pick another one. I thought it was a really poor performance. I just want to touch on Zarate very quickly on what Scott said. I just think a lot gets lost about Zarate. The thing is, we seem to expect him to be all things. But you've got to remember we're West Ham United, okay? Those guys, those creative number 10s who provide everything, that provide the goals, provide the work rate, you're talking about Sanchez, you're talking about Silva, you're talking about players like that. They cost 35 million quid. We got this guy on a free, and we got him at a point where we don't really have an awful lot of creativity in the team. And you're going to find a lot of times this season he runs down blind alleys, but we don't have too many players in the team that can beat 1 or 2 players on a dribble and then score a goal. He is going to score. He's going to score 10 odd goals this season, and that's not to be dismissed or sniffed at, really, you know, regardless of whatever you were saying about Charlie cutting us off his hair if he scored 1 or 5 or you know, whatever. That's what he's going to do. What I would say is he is going to frustrate because he's going to try and take on one man too many, and he did that today. He did a lovely slalom run, and he delayed his shot too much, or he should have squared it into the box. Of course, the irony is he scored his goal against Arsenal by taking the shot early and wrong footing it, and there was an element of surprise to it. But we're going to have to be patient for the simple reason is we don't have 35 million to buy a Silva or a Sanchez. He cost us nothing, and you know what? We don't really have an awful lot better options, and I still think he'll score more goals than Nolan did last season, or even if he played. So there you go.
Well, we'll find out in May if you're right or not. Well, the pitch wasn't claret. There was plenty of streamers. Davis Gold's car was photoshopped as well. Sacco didn't have claret and blue hair. Nothing went right today. But we still had the same amount of points from the last 2 games as we had for the same fixtures last season. So we certainly haven't gone downhill. And as a forum member, Jack95 Gamer said, last season we only got 3 points from the first 3 games, and our next game is Bournemouth at home. So we can still be ahead of last season. But thank you very much for watching and joining us again tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter @hammers_chat. Let us know your views and opinions, and of course pop onto the forum. But thank you very much again for your time, Scott.
Thanks very much for having me. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's no problem. Next time, can you wear some trousers?
I have got shorts on.
They're very short shorts.
It's warmer down south.
Must be. Well, that's why I should have a fleece on up here going by you. Right, Gonzo, thank you, and thanks for wearing your pyjama top.
Hey, listen, that's why it's not my top you're worried about. I don't know if you've noticed that Scott's top. Now, I don't know, we can only see the top of it. I don't know if the top half is a poodle, but it actually looks like a bundle of pubic. What is it?
It's Jimi Hendrix.
I love Jimi Hendrix. But the whole time I've been sat here, we can only see the top, and it looked like you had a bundle of pubic hair. T-shirt.
I apologise, this show's gone downhill, but anyway, that's it for us, guys. Good night.